was just no end to the strange ways of the two-leggeds.
Are you talking about me?
Of course he's talking about you. From the movie Spirit. Uh, shoot. Cutting this
Stallion of
out
the
again. We're
Cimarron.
cutting this out.
You
Yeah, I know. I
dog,
always forget
come
to do
From
that.
on.
Stallion of the Cimarron.
Cimarron.
There you go.
It's from Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. Yeah, there you go. See? First take for sure.
Yeah, Chimerian.
That was
Yeah, Cimarron.
Cimarron. Whatever.
Wait, what? Yeah, Sprinks, what are you doing? You're confusing me.
I'm
Yeah, it's
sorry.
the Cimarron.
Cimarron.
Whatever. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm agreeing with
What
you.
an intro.
Yes. Classic.
I'm Cruising Maroon, host today, doing a great job right off the
Yeah.
bat.
I'm, of course, a character called Sinister Boy.
I'm Sprinks, and
I am Broad Bay.
Woo!
Hey, we got a guest
We have a guest.
or a
Having me
wonderful film.
on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. And as we usually do, we got our socials, Sprinks.
we sure do. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening from. I'll just go down the line here. If you look up at Cheap Seat Critics podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Letterbox, YouTube, you'll come across us. You'll find us. However, over on Twitter, or what was Twitter, now X, or however that thing is going, it's CRITIX to find us there.
Wonderful. And I think we'll go with our histories first instead of facts, starting with Sinister.
All right. Growing up, I think this was definitely one of the few movies that we owned on like DVD. I can distinctly remember the box of it. I know I was trying to remember when I watched this, when the last time I'd seen it. It was probably about 15, maybe 16 years ago. I think I might have gotten it from my grandparents because it's kind of a westerny movie, and it was animated, so they probably thought, oh, perfect for our grandson. And I don't know if I watched it a lot because I remember probably because it was sort of a dramatic kind of movie. I didn't like it so much as a kid because it made me sad in parts, and it was kind of heavy at times. So, but I know I watched it at least a few times, but I hadn't seen it up until this podcast, and I think it's aged pretty well from what I remember.
I'll go next. I've seen this maybe 5 or 6 times. Kind of similar with you, where I saw it mostly as a child, but I didn't care for it as a child very much. Kind of boring. I didn't care for the sad stuff. But as I'm older, I like it more. I like it more than I did as a kid. Funny enough, it's a cartoon movie. Not that cartoons can't be for adults, for all you naysayers out there. But for recently, I think I've seen this about a year ago before the podcast. Obviously, I've seen it for the podcast. And that's about it. Saw it with my sister. There you go. Childhood stuff. There you go. We'll go with Sprinks next.
Oh boy. Today, as of recording, was the first time I've ever seen this movie. I've heard of it before in the repertoire of DreamWorks films, but when it comes to like DreamWorks, it's not really seen in something. You got like all the other characters of, Poe and Toothless and Shrek, but Spirit isn't really up there, so it was kind of always off the radar, and it was just the pick for the start of the season from Crimson. So I'm a first time.
Had you at least seen what Spirit looked like?
I think so. I always confused it with Flicka, but that's a completely different movie.
Yeah, it is a completely different movie.
And finally, Broad Bay.
I definitely grew up with this movie. This is the soundtrack has lived in every single one of my music holding devices all the way back to like iPod Nano. I remember being so jealous of my friend who had a toy of Rain, the like female horse basically. Um Big time fan of this movie, and I would watch it at least once a year all throughout my life. So I've seen this probably a bunch of maybe 20 times.
Yeah, I did bring up the soundtrack. Really solid soundtrack.
Done by Hans Zimmer and Bryan Adams.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer. Sprinks, did you get those vibes? I know you're
Yes.
a fan of his.
Yes, I could pick up Hans Zimmer in the score.
Wonderful. And with history's done, we'll go into the facts section, starting with the budget of $80 million. So, not bad. Pretty good considering they spent 6 years on this movie. And the box office was 122.6 million. So, with advertising, it probably broke even, or maybe made a little bit.
Yeah, it was considered a
Uh,
box office disappointment.
yeah, not great, which is unfortunate. And for this is the only 2D animated film of DreamWorks that make it into this category. There are 4 hand-drawn animated features that have had a sequel uh, theatrically released. So this is one of those 4 because the sequel came out in 2021, Spirit Untamed. Hard to believe there's only been 4 animated feature-length films with sequels. There you go.
Like ever or just for DreamWorks?
Ever.
Oh,
I mean, if you think about it, like all the Disney ones, they're all directed VHS, and yeah, there's only been 4 with sequels theatrically.
I'm guessing Kung Fu Panda, is that another one?
2D animated.
and that had 3
Oh,
of them.
2D. Sorry, sorry.
Did I skip that out?
No. You
So,
said it right. I just glazed over it. You're good.
all right. The opening scene following the eagle, the animators called it the Homeland Pan, took 9 months to do. Total of 700 background elements and average 30 layers of artwork in each frame.
Well, it looked
Yeah,
good
those days were
for 9 months of work.
I would hope so.
uh,
Unfortunately, I think the CGI definitely shows its age during that scene, but
yeah.
for the time, it's still really impressive.
I
Yeah,
I was
2002. I think it
yeah,
holds up for the time.
it's yeah, it's definitely kind of it's a bit you can tell the difference between like the moving stuff and the kind of the landscape, but it's good that they I think it gets better throughout the film, honestly. It's just like that opening is probably the hardest, we can see the difference.
Fortunately, for a movie that's all about horses, it seems like their horse CGIs is where like is at its worst.
That's true.
It just makes the 2D look even better.
It's true.
Uh, I have a little fact for this.
Okay.
It was this was nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Animated Picture. Do you know what it lost to?
2002?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, 2002.
Let's go. Monsters Inc.
No,
Okay. Maybe that was 2003.
I'll just say it was a coincidence because I kept for what reason I think when I was growing up I kept flipping them in my mind. Uh, Spirited Away won, so as everything is the other Spirit movie.
I didn't think so. Spirited Away was that old.
Well, I think it came out the year before, but
Like
probably
Hurricane, it held on to the next year.
yeah. Well, I think see now I'm wondering if it was probably the dub came out the year after, so it would have been within the same. Who knows? I didn't dive that deep into it, but I thought it was a fun little coincidence that Spirit lost to Spirited Away.
And the last thing, there's a Spirit book series
Hmm.
uh, following different family members of both Spirit and Rain. There's one that covers uh, Spirit's mom and his father. The mom's name is Esperanza, apparently. Never comes through in the movie, but that's the book. And there's a couple based on Rain's parents and grandparents. Yeah. If you ever want to read those books, they're out.
I don't know if that's just stretching
Spirit
for
of the
lore.
West.
Ah,
Well, I mean, they came out the same year as the movie, so it's not like they were milking the franchises. It came out side by side. At least the Esperanza one. The other ones came out sequentially after that. But that is
crazy
it
that
for the facts. I have one more that I'll save for later because I'm sure it's a question that'll be brought up. So we'll jump in. We're doing a 3-act structure this time. Popcorning anywhere within the act you want. The first act is the start to when Spirit is sent to the post for 3 days. Would anyone like to start? No? I'm
Not
starting with Sprinks.
no. Shoot, I was just gonna say I'm looking through my notes to find where the stopping point is on that.
Oh, then start somewhere you're confident is early. There you go.
The clouds look like horses in the very beginning.
You're right. And they look like that at the end too. What a beautiful bookend.
I would love it if that was entirely coincidental, that wasn't even they didn't actually try to do that.
Oh, that it wasn't even supposed to look like horses.
Yeah, they weren't even supposed to look like horses. There's just big old, Rorschach tests or whatever.
All right, I got where my notes are. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought they were well animated. As a kid, I didn't even notice. I didn't notice at all.
No.
But seeing it a year ago, I'm like, how did I never notice that? It's so obviously horses.
I mean, I didn't even notice in Lion King that the cloud is shaped like his father. I didn't notice that.
All right,
Oh.
that's a big one.
That's yeah, that's
Yeah,
not true.
That one
That's not
that
true.
talks to him.
SFX thing. I'm like, okay, that's missable.
No, it says sex, remember?
No, no, it's SFX.
It's too late. The internet's already taken that one. Sorry.
We'll
Yeah.
cover that when we get to Lion King.
History's been
Uh,
altered.
mhm. Yeah, I think, Broadway brought up with the intro, and I think this was like that was I was like, "Oh, I really hope the rest of this movie looks better than I remember it being." Because yeah, I think the intro is sort of the most aged of most of the rest of this most of the animation in this movie.
It's
Uh,
admirable that they put so much time into that intro, but it's really it actually kind of makes it worse knowing how much time was put into it to see what it looks like now.
uh,
Probably the
Crimson,
part of the movie that relies the most on CG.
did you look up how this opening shot is the longest it took out of anything in the film?
No, that was the only thing I saw on production length specifically was just the opening.
Okay.
I mean,
But looking
it's
at
like
everything else, I would imagine it probably still is the longest.
yeah,
Maybe
there's a lot.
I don't know what else would take it.
I don't know that train part. That seemed to have a lot of
Well, that's
detail.
just I don't well,
A lot
but
of it was
it's
matte
the
That's
painting.
gorgeous.
train is well, you got it's probably because it's a mixture of like they're mimicking camera stuff, so that takes up time too. Because you have to draw it, and it also has to render in the correct space of time, so that it all has to be put in. So that probably was. I mean, the train thing probably was a long time too, but that was probably less of having to do like the stuff you don't think about when you're animating.
Yeah, like I said, this took 6 years to make. So put a lot of time into it, and this movie turned out very differently than it was originally pitched and
Oh, is
started.
it like a Emperor's New Groove situation?
Maybe I don't know. You and Springs have brought that up before. I have no idea what the difference between the original and what the original vision
Well, yeah,
was.
I haven't. There's a whole
But
documentary on it, but I haven't seen it.
for this, originally the animals would talk and the humans were quiet. That was the original idea, and it was
That
going to
would,
be more comedic.
I'm like that would have made the humans a bit scarier.
That would that would be a very startling thing if you were high watching it instead. I think just animals talking and then the humans that's not saying anything. Honestly, though, from I remember, I don't remember the humans talking. That was a surprise to me. I thought like they didn't do anything, but
I certainly remember the Colonel.
yeah,
It
Colonel.
was probably modeled off of Custard, I would imagine.
Because of the facial
Fits
hair.
the time and what he
Two
did.
time, two times, two recordings brought up Custer.
Applicable here.
Yeah, you're right. The same thought.
Uh, who knows? Maybe we'll watch Night at the Museum 2 next, and we can bring him up again.
Yeah, we'll skip the first one, obviously. Um, I have a question. Unfortunately, our biology expert isn't here. Not that that means anything because this is animal biology, not human biology. But do horses like immediately walk after they're born, or is that like a rare instance?
Thank
I
you.
could answer that, but I'm sure Sprinks, yeah, would want to.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
unless Broadway has something on it.
I just grew up on farms, but I was never like a part of actually birthing horses. But I'm pretty sure they just pop right up out of that. They're up and at 'em.
I thought you were gonna say gooch. Don't ask me. Don't ask me why. That was the wording I thought you were going to use.
I don't know how clean your guys' podcast is, so I'm trying to keep it as nice as I can.
As long as it's not a
Pretty
slur,
clean.
yeah. Okay, never mind. Never mind. We have two different
Well, I mean,
interpretations of it.
I don't think
yeah, no
horse
slurs.
scooch
There
is
you go.
going to get blurred out. I
No,
think.
Yeah.
no, that's not going to get bleeped.
The C word, maybe. Gooch, you're safe. Vagina.
Yeah. Anyway, I was being a first time viewer. It kind of shocked me because I took it as what the whole spirit being birthed to
Hmm.
the smile of the milk around his lips to then fade cut to the running in the snow. I figured that was all in real time, which is a minute and 23 seconds. So because of that, let me just look at my note I
I think
have
you
here.
accidentally took it too literally again.
Oh, I went a lot. So, if believed to be in real time, it took 1 minute and 4 seconds for Spirit to stand up and walk over to his mom. Taken from the Cure of Newborn Foals, written January 31st, 2020, of the Horses Reproduction and Breeding section online. It says within the first 2 hours, a foal starts breathing within seconds, lifts its head within 5 minutes, attempts to rise within 10, stands within 55, vocalizes within 45, defecates moconium within 30 minutes, suckles for the first time within an hour, walks 2 runs for the first time within 90 minutes, and takes its first nap within 2 hours. Because of the crossfade transition to cut to a different point in time, the breathing, head lift, rising, standing, suckling, and walk all take place within 1 minute and 23 seconds of the film. The longest being what is shown in screen, the walking, which is estimatedly to be within a 90-minute time frame. Now, being within 90 minutes means all of this could be theoretically within 1 minute of a horse birth. So this horse is horses in spirit is accelerated the minimum of walking if achieved directly at the 90-minute mark by an estimately 6,407%.
Mm.
Now, that's a lot of big words,
From what
and
I
I'm
looked into,
impressed.
the minimum isn't 90 minutes. It's not the minimum.
Off of what
That
I
was like the
found of
average.
care of newborn foal horses reproduction and breeding,
You know,
From what I
I
saw, an
I
hour
think
was the minimum. So
Still
I
speed running. They've got like
it is
babies
sped.
completely smoked.
hey, Spirit is the stallion of the Cimarron. So what are you gonna do?
I mean, he is the leader of their entire horse pack, which that's something I wanted to talk about a little bit more
Hmm.
later. But it makes sense that he's got to be at a more developed rate than everyone else.
Yeah, he's got the. I,
And much like Sprinks, I did some horse research, specifically the teeth.
it does.
Uh, so horses can be born with 4 teeth or no teeth, kind of 50-50. But if they don't have any of the four, which would be two on top, two on bottom, then that takes on average of 8 days. And then 8 weeks for, I think, four more teeth to come in. And then about 8 months for a full mouth. So Spirit came with a full mouth. So that's incorrect.
I'm glad this podcast has you guys looking into horse breeding and all the ins and outs of
I want to know
their.
how factually correct this movie was.
No, it's
It's
fair.
ours.
Yeah, you gotta do what you got.
Now, Crimson, the other thing we could be thinking is the mom just couldn't get Spirit out.
Yeah, Spirit could have been hanging around for a while.
Spirit clawed his way out.
Yeah.
Well,
Who else got something? We talked a lot about
to be
the birth.
fair, hey, the birth's a big thing because that's like the only
It
scene I
is.
remembered in this
It is
whole
a big thing.
movie. Well, okay, that and the horse breaking scene. Those are the two scenes I remember from this movie.
But I'm sure you remember the songs.
Yeah, of course I remember the songs. Although I didn't remember it was Brian Adams. That was a surprise. And I love
Speaking of
Brian Adams.
songs, Brian
Yes.
Adams slaps. I wonder, is Brian Adams like is he Spirit? Because every single song is from his perspective, and it's like, this emotional narration of what's going on. I'm like, Bryan Adams is Spirit.
Yeah. You know what? Screw Matt Damon. I think Bryan Adams would have been better. Prefer just Bryan Adams doing it.
It's confirmed Spear has a split personality. He's got two voices
he's
in his head.
he's
Did Bryan
Bryan
Adams
Adams and Matt
do
Damon.
all the lyrical songs in the film?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did not do the orchestration,
No. Okay.
unfortunately.
In that
So
regard,
that
I
was
think tend to agree.
Yeah. All the songs are pretty integral with what was going on with
yeah.
Spirit. Mostly
I
what's
was
in his head.
well,
Get off of my back.
that's the big scene. That's the TikTok moment, as the kids are saying nowadays.
The TikTok moment.
What
Yeah,
does that mean?
because that's like in all the TikToks. If you watch like people like react to this movie, it's all that one scene.
You've watched Spirit TikToks?
I haven't, but I'm sure.
That's the
Listen,
research. Look, that's the research
That's
Sinister
what
had to
I'm
do
doing.
for this. We did the
I
horse birthing breeding situation. Sinister did the TikTok part.
because that was the clip.
All
Okay,
bases covered.
that song. Okay, in high school, everybody knew that song. Nobody saw the movie, but everybody knew that song because it slaps. Okay, and that's the TikTok moment.
So Sinister, no one saw it in high school.
I'm just saying,
I mean,
like
it's not a very big movie.
anybody who I feel like anybody who I knew that scene, with the exception of Broadway here, knew it from knew that song more than like the movie, because that song was so good.
I mean, there's a lot of songs like Pretty Woman, right? That's from the movie. Looking
Yeah,
out for
Yes,
it.
that is from the movie Pretty Woman.
A lot of people know the song but haven't seen the movie. Same
yeah.
thing.
And I think, well, and especially okay, and they also probably saw the scene that it's in, and so I'll give them that they saw the scene it was in, because that scene's also really good too.
Actually, speaking of the songs, since we all seem to have a pretty good grasp on them, do we each like have one song that we're really like, this is my favorite from the whole thing, or is that more something we can go over at the end, since that's like
I
all
don't know,
three?
we can do that now. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
That's a tough one for me. I have like 3 of them in my playlist.
Hell yeah.
I'll be cliche. I'll be cliche, and just because I like the whole never back down aspect of it, I gotta say the get off my back. That's my favorite.
I think the one I've listened to the most is Sound the Bugle. So that'll probably be
Oh,
my
that
answer.
is a good one.
And Sprinks, you got it?
I
You can describe a scene if you don't know the
well,
names.
being that I pretty much listened to all these songs for the first time today, once, um, none exactly stick out. They all fit and are on par with one another to me. So I think I need to do a little more research individually with the songs and find a stronger answer.
No, I'll burn you a CD. Okay, I'll burn you
Okay,
a
thank you.
CD.
Because right now I'll just say all of them.
I'll get you a mixtape.
Yeah, I will say I don't think there was a bad song.
So
No,
there
yeah,
are 2 versions on the soundtrack for I Will Always Return. There is the I Will Always Return and I Will Always Return finale. For some reason on the soundtrack, they actually have a lot of different versions. Like they have 2 different versions of Here I Am as well. But I really like the I Will Always Return finale version. Like a good choral component to it.
mm-hmm.
I got a good punch.
I feel like that's another thing with this movie is I think the soundtrack I feel like has definitely been forgotten on a certain level. I mean, like I mentioned that everybody knows that one song, but uh, I was pleasantly surprised that there was a lot of good songs, and not just the Bryan Adams stuff, but even like I think it's some of Hans Zimmer's like some of his like almost best work is in this movie.
Possibly.
I'm sure Sprinks will disagree with me
I'll,
on that. He is
I,
more of a
I
Hans
mean,
Zimmer
yeah,
fanboy than I am.
I'll say possibly. I mean, depending on your experience with Hans Zimmer scores, it could be. For me, I would probably shy away and say no. But then again, I've only seen this movie once. But from the sound of it from you three, it sounds like this movie had a bit of a Tarzan effect
Oh, the everybody loved the
with
soundtrack.
Phil Collins. Yeah. At least
Can I give
I'm more
a
familiar with that.
Can I give an unpopular opinion? Probably.
I mean,
don't really
sure.
care for the I don't really care for the Tarzan soundtrack.
I don't know it,
That's a
so
bit maddening.
I'll jump on board.
Oh, Crimson, you're in my shoes for this instance. You don't know that one.
And I'm sure I've probably heard of them. I
I
just
mean,
don't
yeah,
know them.
Two
song,
Worlds, One Family, Son of Man, the camp
ew.
song.
I
The
like
one
the
that's
camp
like at
song.
the very beginning, like the "Stop Your Crying." I don't know.
It'll
I
be
always wish
all
that one was.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, I always wish that one was longer. It was always like way too short, but well.
yeah.
Well, they had to get the parents out of the movie. It was a Disney film. They had to rush it
That's
along.
worth. That's so dark because they died. They had to get him out of there.
Don't they have like real blood in Tarzan?
Oh,
I believe
maybe.
so.
Yeah,
I
it's
believe when Tarzan fights the leopard, I believe he is bleeding.
not like the surprisingly darker Disney moments that you didn't realize until you were 25 or something.
Well, yeah, the
Yeah,
villain just
only
holds a
it.
gun the whole time, much like the Colonel in this film. Just holding a weapon the whole time, like Clayton.
I Yeah, the Clayton. Um, I want to talk about a scene like really quick, and I it's in between here, and I don't remember when I was a kid, but rewatching it now, I really wish there were kind of more similar moments to it in there. But with the after Spirit is caught by the horse wranglers, and there's the night shot with the thunder, lightning in the background.
Yeah,
I want that as a poster. That'd be
it's
super cool.
beautiful.
It's like probably one of my favorite like shots in the movie.
With or without the lightning.
With the
There you
lightning.
go.
Yeah, I don't yeah, without the lightning, it's just
You
a
want a
black
black poster?
screen.
Yeah, just a black screen. I'm like, that's a use of creativeness for animation uh lack, I guess, or less.
Yeah, less is more, I think. It's a great and I mean, I think it's probably like 5 or 10 seconds or something. It's really short, but I was like, "Man, I really wish there was kinda more dynamic stuff like that throughout," but I'm sure that was
Oh,
probably
I don't
very difficult to pull off.
I don't remember who it was. It might have been the art director. It was somebody in production, someone
Mhm,
high up, and they was kind of a point like that where they wish they could do more creative uh, shots like that. They were okay with how the movie turned out, but they would have preferred more contrasty light instead of the
mhm.
bright green grass, the average looking dirt, the earthy
It's
tones.
always
They wanted
yeah.
more creative liberties with it, but they went a little bit safe with it.
Hmm. Well, I mean, 6 years of production, usually if you're 6 years in production, you don't make it out in especially in animation land.
Yeah.
Very, very rare.
I'll jump to when everyone's trying to ride spirits, break them. And there's this one guy that says, "Leaping heap of horse flesh." And then Spirit turns in anger at him, which tells me Spirit actually knew what he said. He actually understood him.
I think that's
Well,
fair because
yeah.
I mean this is a little bit later, but there's something that one of the other human characters says to him, like, "You're not meant to be tamed," and he like puts his face in his hand or something. So yeah, I think there's an argument to be made that he understands human English.
Yeah. Or or at the very least, like, the emotion behind the language, at the very least. 'Cause especially
I guess he
horses
could
are
have heard
very
the raised voice or something.
yeah. I think horses especially are very empathetic, creatures, shall we say.
You wonder if furries like lose their minds over the human horse kiss right before the big first chase scene happens, or if they prefer more of the horse on horse love.
I think it depends
You know,
on the
yeah,
furry.
yeah, yeah, I don't
They vary, and
they
that's
do
fine.
yeah, the furries do vary. It's, so probably some like the human on animal stuff, and then some prefer the animal on animal. I don't know. Uh,
No one could see it, but my he- head is rested on my hand right now.
head rested
uh,
on hand, rubs belly,
yeah.
laughs.
Well, I'll
Yeah, I'm
sidetrack us
wondering.
to a bit of animation that I thought looked weird,
Okay,
which is
okay.
early. I think could possibly is even in that 9-month span animation at the beginning, it shows some bears by a river catching fish,
Uh,
Mhm.
and the camera kind of goes around them back into the forest. But going around them, they look very 2D. They're very flat.
yeah. Was this like I'm sure you probably said. Is this all 2D or is this like a mix of 2D and 3D kind of
There's
together?
there's certainly a mix.
Okay.
um,
I think
like there's
probably
one
yeah.
very apparent one for Spirit specifically. I think Spirit looks pretty good throughout the entire movie, but there's one when he enters the camp and walks up to the campfire while they're all asleep. He
Yeah.
is very obviously a CG horse. Does not look great. Then it cuts to a 2D one while he's sniffing the boot,
Yeah.
which looks good.
Sniffing a boot. Okay.
Yeah,
Biting the
I was
spur.
when it comes to like spirits, whole family dynamic, like I wonder if there's a bloodline of royalty. Because it seems as though while Spirit was gone, his mom may have taken over just because she seemed to be at
mhm.
the head of everything. It seemed like he took over like right after he was born. I wonder if there's like a bloodline.
Yeah, that was I think that was something where I was kind of reading about or doing a little research and they were, mentioning like the books and like the spirits, mom and dad and all that stuff. I was like, I would almost be I kind of wish movie was about maybe 20, 30 minutes longer and we kind of got a little bit of a backstory to kind of the lineage. I'm sure that was what probably the people behind it wanted to do too. But and again, as for as short as this is, they pack a lot in there, depth wise. So, uh, but
It
yeah, that
is a
was something
little.
else.
Sorry.
Good. That was something else that I was like, I kind of would like to know what the dynamics of their herd were, because you kind of get a glimpse of it, but it's hard to understand the inner workings beyond just you know, the 15 minutes they're on there.
Yeah, it's a little, I guess, creative liberty for the film because typically for wild horses, the male son leaves the herd to form his own because he the leader would in the scenario
Yeah.
they would breed with the mom and sister in this scenario, which is
Yeah.
why they
Okay.
would leave
Yeah.
to,
He
for
did
a
get a
new
little
herd.
too close to that mom sometimes. Sometimes I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oedipus Rex much?
So I don't know how many herds do get led by females because the mom, I agree. I think the mom does take charge once he leaves.
Mhm.
I don't know how that actually fits in with real life, but I didn't see anything on that.
I like the cougar fight. That was I think fairly like physical characteristics wise. I think that was probably pretty close to how an actual fight between a horse and a cougar would go.
Oh, horse would win.
Yeah, horse would.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
the cougar would definitely try to get on the back.
Oh,
That's the
yeah, I
spot.
think once the cougar's
Yeah.
on the back, the horse is kind of done for.
mm, I don't know.
I mean, it
A
can't
cou-
reach them.
well, no, it would just be bucking, but a horse far weighs more than a cougar, and a cougar's main like kill tactic is to go through the neck or throat. And this at least the one in the film here wasn't exactly going for the neck.
No,
It was just kind of lashing, like it was like slapping.
I I think they dumbed it down enough because it's a kids movie.
Well,
They can't have like
I
blood and
yeah, I
gore,
can kind of get that
unfortunately.
because the cougar's hunting in daylight. I wish that
Yeah, that
wasn't shown.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
That's not an impossibility.
no, but I
That
wish the
happens.
cougar just was like startled and then attacked in some way, like the two foals who are like biting each other's ears got a little too close and
Yeah.
woke it or something. I think that would have played more better than Spirit watching it skulk in some bushes.
I think that would
Yeah.
take away from the scene. I think it's a lot more menacing and with him being on the prowl and an actual threat instead of just a guy that was sleeping and now has a chance for some lunch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a jump scare would have been scarier.
Yeah, it's a jump scare.
That's not what you just said, though. You said the kids
Yeah.
woke him up, so that means we'd have to see him wake up, which
Well,
wouldn't be
what
a
if?
jump scare.
No. Well, I mean, if we only saw like its backside, and it turned into a like Like it could be a rock, for example. Like, going to Emperor's New Groove with the Panthers and that. They're all just appear.
Not a jump scare though.
Well, no, because it actually pans to all of them sleeping before the
Yeah.
squirrel wakes
Mhm.
them. But
If
That
anything's a
doesn't jump.
jump scare in that movie, it's Yzma.
True.
In her face.
the food in her teeth.
This better be good. Ugh. I don't know. I think it worked. I mean, a jump scare would have been interesting, but yeah, I don't know. That probably wouldn't have been. And again, that would be that would have been a hard one to animate too, because that's all about timing and precision.
I thought the scene worked perfectly fine the way it was. There's something that was kind of apparent here, which is technically throughout the whole film. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just a product of the time, 2002. Is the shadows? I think they did a good job with casted shadows on the ground and how it interacts with other objects or the environment. But just the casual shadows that are always on them, like under Spirit's belly and neck and stuff,
Hmm.
those don't really act right in relation to where the sun is. It's kind of just they kind of stay there most of the time, even when they wouldn't, or when they should get larger. Just
Yeah.
an easier way of doing shadows and actually correctly corresponding with the sun.
Yeah. I am impressed though that they got the for most of it, with a few exceptions, because definitely when there's like 20 people on screen, they don't really, they kind of just mat those out. But I was
A
impressed
lot
with
of
how,
copy and paste dudes.
yeah, you fill in the time when you can. That they kept like the body shadows for the most part, casting shadows fairly well, which is definitely in this instance the easier of the two, probably because not that much dynamic lighting.
Mhm.
Also, we covered the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again, and now we're back there. Okay, we're back in the base, back in the fort.
I'm
We
sure
are.
there's other
Kind of.
films that
It's
depict
yes,
forts,
yeah. I
but
just, I just, I just connecting the two.
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I got that now. I love. Well, I I don't love what he's doing, but I love that Spirit kicks the shit out of the branding guy.
Oh, Murphy?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Yes,
Murphy.
Murphy.
he has like something personal against that guy. He's out for blood.
Yeah, he has to understand the branding. He must, because that's probably why he just goes for the guy so hard.
I wish the
I mean,
branding actually fell on Murphy.
Or wait, actually, you know what? Actually, what it might be. Wait, was the no? What? Never mind. I was thinking it was like the fat horse wrangler guy that caught him in the beginning, and that might be he just doesn't like fat guys. No, he's like, oh, it's the same guy.
not every guy. I mean, I don't think Spirit knows what a brand is. I think he just attacked the guy every time he got close to him.
Oh yeah, I'm over characterizing, but I think
Cut his mane, clean his hooves, put on horseshoes, and then brand.
is it painful to put on horseshoes on a horse? Like, is that like a painful thing for them?
If you do a good job cleaning, no.
Okay.
You do a poor job cleaning, it can because the hooves can get infected.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a research I did not look up on.
I know
I mean,
my
you were so
hooves.
caught up with the birthing, so
Oh, that
it's
was just
understandable.
that stood out to me. Uh,
That stood out.
yeah, him putting the horseshoe on, I looked fine. I thought that's how you put a horseshoe on. So
No, that was just more of a biology question than
gotcha.
I'm terrified of horses.
Well, I do have a question, and I don't know if it just plays out because of the way in the film, or like for the plot specifically of Spirit, or it was actually true. But the five cowboys who were sleeping, were they actually horse wranglers, or did they just encounter Spirit as such a beautiful stallion to send it to the fort?
Oh, beautiful stallion.
I always interpreted it like it was just, oh wow, look at that stallion, let's bring him into the boss. But I don't think they explicitly say.
Hmm.
Okay, because none of the five are in cavalry uniform.
No, yeah. See, that's what I always remember. For whatever reason, I always remember it being the army got him, and then when it was that, I was like, that still kind of makes sense, but I kind of would prefer it if it was the cavalry, but that wouldn't have made sense either. Because why would they be out on the? I don't know. They might just
Yeah,
they probably just have they're just like cowboys that just have you know to because it doesn't seem like they're that good. It's hard to tell if he's really good at getting away from them or if they're not that good at catching horses, which I guess either way
It's
would
5v1. I don't think they're that good.
well,
yeah.
I mean, Spirit was also pretty maneuverable and outwitted them a few times.
Well, Spirit did some wall running.
He did.
I was
Yes.
waiting for someone to bring that up. I was like, I didn't remember that. Is the yeah, we gotta have a horse like a horse expert or something because I don't know if that's possible, right? Is that possible?
Well,
Humans can do it. Why not a
I
horse?
know someone who owns a horse, and might know a little bit on horse expertise that I could ask.
Yeah, you got a fun friend. Want to ring him up right now?
I have a cousin.
If
Uh,
there is horse
Not
riding
a friend.
Olympics, then there should be horse being able to jump a wall, but I think it's got to be at enough of an angle for it to be able to sustain
Yeah,
its weight.
they, yeah, they
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it was definitely jutted out. Like it wasn't like a flat
I've never
surface. So
heard of at least a Mustang being compared to a mountain goat.
I mean, similar feet, I imagine.
they do have hooves. You're correct.
They do have
But
hooves.
hey, horses in Skyrim climb, 90 degrees straight up. So
Yeah.
No, Spirit didn't tackle the warped wall.
No,
Pretty amusing.
but it is a well, okay. I guess I'll accept it because he didn't like climb up. He just it was almost like he just rebounded basically. So
yeah,
fine.
I can
definitely
see it as
rock wall
possible.
usage.
It's not
Yeah.
something I could see as impossible. I can suspend my disbelief.
I I can see him probably hurting himself more than evading the um, people involved, but otherwise,
I do like the lassos. I know it's very weird statement. I like the lassos in this. That I would imagine it'd be such a pain in the neck to 2D animate the lassos in this frame by frame all the time.
Good pun.
Be a nightmare. And there's two ways that they convey the lassos as well. Is kind of going a little bit further, but
mm,
you got the U.S. soldiers, and they're all really tight on the neck. But when you get to the Lakota, when they throw the ropes over, it's very loose, very kind, not restrictive. Just shows
oh, I
the
think you just
comparison between the two factions there.
yeah, I think you just noticed a little of some symbolism, perhaps.
Broad Bay. I don't think you brought a point. Do you have any you could think of right now?
All the ones that I wrote down, we've gone over for Act One at least. I've got some thoughts for Act Two, but I think we're
Mm,
we're coming up on that one.
okay, well, you can start an act two.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you'll go
Uh,
first.
this is more so like an overarching thought for Act Two, so just like Act Two as a
Mm,
whole. I feel like it's the meatiest and the juiciest story wise, at least for the whole story, because it's like Act Two feels like it contains an entirely like fully fleshed story just within that short period of time, where Spirit is now captured again, uh, with someone that he has a certain level of respect for. It's this like weird balance of a dance that they're doing with each other, where they're trying to like set boundaries while maintaining mutual respect. Um, in the end, they both see each other as equals and learn from one another. Neither of them holds more power than the other, but it feels like Act Two just stands on its own 2 feet, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, the
well said.
relationship between Spirit and Little Creek.
And
I think that was his name, right?
yeah, Little
Didn't want
Creek
to write that wrong.
and
Little Creek.
Little Creek and Rain.
Uh, Before further diving into Act Two, anything else for Act One for everyone?
All I have left in my notes for Act One is those cowpoke got their boots on fast.
They did.
They were not groggy at all. They were ready to catch
Mhm.
that horse.
Well, one of them had been drinking.
Yeah, the horse
So
kisser.
the horse, the horse kisser, the horse kisser.
Also, I don't know if this is like just a me thing, but I like to think, what do these horses kind of look like if they were people? And for some reason, every time I look at Rain, I just think she really looks like a Kesha horse.
Yeah, I could
Kesha
see
the
Kesha.
singer?
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that.
Interesting. Like early Kesha or like now Kesha?
I'd probably say more so early Kesha, with like the feather in her hair and everything. It's giving
Yeah,
very
yeah,
like
yeah.
the
Mm.
TikTok vibes, but not the clock app.
Da-da-dum. Yeah. Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't, yeah, I would be curious how, like, what spirit, who he would be, because I'm kind of drawing a blank on him. But yeah, that Kesha is actually really good for Rain.
I do want to draw
Spirits Matt
attention
Damon.
to when Spirit and Little Creek bust out of the, I guess, like the army base. I really like that Little Creek is actually not riding Spirit, but holding on
Mm,
to his neck from the side and like kind of hanging off the side. I think that is, I don't know, I feel like that kind of continues the story in a way that makes sense, but it also doesn't like allow him to ride spirits because that's still an ongoing story between the two of them.
mhm.
Definitely adds to the payoff for it later.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely something that I probably missed when I was a kid, because I remember it as like he wrote him from there, and then I was like, oh, he doesn't. That's right. That's cool. That's a neat thing. I'm glad they kept the continuity of that.
Little Creek, very strong though to do that. Hold on to a full sprinting horse like that.
Hey, a little creek is still a strong stream. Okay,
Yeah.
little
I guess
little
my
water
last
humor
thing
for you.
to bring up for Act One was the eagle. The eagle gets very little screen time in this, but I really like the relationship he has with Spirit. And obviously, it's a correlation to freedom that Spirit wants to feel, and he wants to fly, as he brings up at the beginning as well. You even get the eagle's wings over Spirit as he runs along. Very good stuff. It's very surface level, very
Hmm.
apparent, but I like it nonetheless.
Yeah, I do kind of wish they expanded on it a little bit, but I think for as it stands, it's pretty good.
Now you say relationship,
Hmm.
and it seems that, at least to me, it seems that Spirit has a more of a relationship with the Eagle than the Eagle has with Spirit. The
I mean,
Eagle's
it
just
looked
kind of
sad when
there.
Spirit was leaving. Mm,
It it reminded me of Shadow of Colossus with the Falcon.
interesting.
How it's just around and there, and it appears around Wander and Aggro, but it's not exactly a relationship.
I mean, it kind of shows that they have a racing game that they do. He looks sad for Spirit when Spirit's taken away. Spirit keeps looking for him. And I feel like there's more than just the Eagles around. That there's something between them. You don't think they did enough for that? I think they did.
I don't think they did enough on the Eagles part. I think they
I
did
agree. I
plenty
think
on Spirit.
yeah.
What would you want the eagle to do to establish it for you?
The Eagle attacked one of the humans.
And
The
then
Eagle
get
tried to
shot.
help Spirit
That
escape
would be
somehow.
unfortunate.
I agree. Kind of anything. I mean, the spirit or the eagle sees spirit getting captured during one of the times. I don't remember specifically which, but we get a close up of the eagle, and he looks like really sad. He's
Mhm.
sadly squawking at at spirit,
Yeah.
but he really doesn't do anything. I would kind of like to see almost like a Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, where the Phoenix at least comes back and helps Harry somehow.
Mm.
Yeah, it would have been cool if the Eagle, saw. Um, well, Spirit did run immediately from the cowpoke to the herd, but
Yeah.
if the Eagle got to the herd first to warn them or something.
I don't know.
Mm.
Then you can kind of get into like the talking animal feel. It feels less grounded, I think, if the eagle's warning the herd.
I can agree that I wish he kind of tried to help in some way. He doesn't have to be successful. He doesn't have to, like, doesn't have to ruin the kind of that element, but something maybe a little bit more I would have liked better. But I think as it stands, it's serviceable. I think, like Crimson said, it's kind of, I mean, surface level at best, but it tracks. It you can see it.
I agree. They could have done more. I think what they have is fine though. I
Trying to
think
think if hypothetically, like the lesson or like a teaching of the movie is kind of like American uh, colonization, um, taking over the West, and being the whole land of the free. Yet it's all the spirit about spirit being captured and enslaved, and Eagle being a shoot, I forget
symbol of
the
freedom.
Native American is well a symbol of freedom
Oh,
for
sorry.
America, but for
Yeah.
Native Americans it's a symbol of I can't remember. I can't remember what the eagle stands for Native Americans. Um,
I know what the Raven stands for, but
but I'm trying to think of the symbolism between the two of them and how the movie would have gone if the eagle did try to help Spirit and the cavalry shot the eagle, and how that would have been portrayed to the the army here.
uh,
That even though they're like land of the free, they'll take down the symbol of freedom, kind of thing.
mm,
I think that would just villainize them a bit more. But if that was the instance, then I mean, to me that would have strengthened the Eagles' character being one, but it would have probably weakened the ending bit with the Colonel giving respect back to Spirit after the jump.
yeah,
That's true. Yeah, their relationship ends on kind of a almost mutual respect kind of
yeah.
place.
The immovable force has met the unstoppable force has met the immovable object kind of thing. Yeah, I, I'm sure they tried to go for we already brought up in this first act alone. We've already brought up a lot of imagery and symbolism throughout. And I'm sure there's probably more they wanted to do, and just really couldn't. Uh, but
Well,
yeah, that seems.
there was one scene they cut out with the eagle at the end
Hmm.
that I came across anyways. When Spirit was leaping, flying across the sky, the eagle was going to fly over and show wings on him,
They should have
pretty
done it.
much with the angle they were going to provide.
They
Should
should
have
have done
done it.
it when they're like Eagle and them are running, and the Eagle's like pretty much dead on with the camera flapping its wings, showing wings already kind of on from that angle for Spirit. That would have been good payoff.
Well, they chose to have Little Creek do that instead, though. Open up his
Oh, it's so
arms.
small. They cut directly straight to Little Creek. They don't even show Spirit with his arms open that long.
Yeah.
It gets a tighter shot on it. It's not there for long.
I think once again, what they have is good. But it's fine. That's later stuff. Jumping ahead here.
That's
All right. Since everyone's done with
Ah,
Act One,
jumping.
we're sternly in Act Two now, which is Spirit getting tied up to the post to when Spirit gets put on the train.
we're starting with Broadway.
Right.
Uh, oof, let's see. I don't know. One of my biggest things is just the relationship between the two of them. I had another note about a like apple tree that Spirit and Rain sit under, but
Mm.
I went back and I revisited the scene and I was not correct about that. So my entire note on that is gone.
Aw.
Yeah. No, another thing I wanted to mention about it kind of borders Act Two and Act Three, so I think I might just hold on to that one a little bit later when we further
Mm,
on into the story.
okay. I like the jumping for the apple bit. I'm a sucker for it. I'm sorry.
She just playing with Spirit at this point. She has him wrapped around her hoof.
Or neck.
Or neck.
Aha! Double meaning. I
Oh, look, an apple. I can't have it. Guess I'll just eat the grass. Oh, I can get you that apple. Here's an apple. Yeah, yeah. Show me affection. Yeah, yeah.
I have no interest in your apple.
The sharing of apple was very Lady and the Tramp spaghetti.
It was.
And then they went
I
into
When did
def
Lady and Tramp come out?
the Lightning and Sally day
That was like
drive
90s, I think.
thing.
I thought okay, I thought Road to El Water came out after this, so I and I have to rephrase what I was gonna say because the whole when they're swimming in like the pond or whatever with the lily pads and everything, that's what it reminded me of because it was very looked a lot like something out of like Road to El Dorado, and I thought that they like that was like a prototype or whatever for a lot of the water stuff in that. But now I found out that it's actually no, Road to Water did that first.
Well, then in that instance,
Maybe Spirit
this
did it
reminds you
first
of
in
that.
production.
Oh yeah, maybe because it's 6 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. And then they were like, God, we really love that water scene. Can we like use that for a bunch of stuff in ours? And they were like, sure. We're DreamWorks. Uh,
I don't know if anyone caught it because it's very small. The Spirit growing his hair out gives us a timeline of how long he's been with Little Creek.
Crimson,
now,
I wrote that down as well.
now, did you do research into how long it takes horses' manes to grow?
I
Yes,
did.
I did.
All right. Well, Sphinx,
Say them both
you
at the
sound
exact same
passionate.
time and go back.
I
We'll,
could.
we'll echo it.
Let's see. What do I have written down? So a horse's mane, when it's cut, called roaching, gets shortened down to about 1 inch uh, off its neck or body, so it doesn't flop because of wind resistance. Is what I have here. It takes about 1 inch roughly per month to grow for a mane. For the mane to fall over, which is pretty much the majority of Spirit, it would take about 4 to 6 months. Spirit has his mane back when Little Creek is attempting to paint him. Uh, Beforehand, when Spirit and Rain are walking through the tribal village, he still is roached and then cuts to the paint and his mane's fully back. So that between the two is anywhere between a 4 to 6 month time jump.
Wow.
You're almost correct with that entire statement. The painting of Spirit is half length. It covers half his neck. After that scene, then we see his full mane, where it's past his neck. So we get 3 stages of his mane during
This is the
this.
battle of the glasses wearers.
Actually,
I'll say Crimson
uh,
takes it.
When I was a
sure.
kid, I always thought that they were giving the horses cutie marks.
I, 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 I I love how much I love that. I like.
Like nowadays, I'm like, oh, that might be a little culturally insensitive, but I like to think that they're just giving
Uh,
cutie marks.
I mean, it takes away
Another
from the ownership
parallel.
side a little bit. So yeah.
Another parallel. While the U.S. guys brand them, the natives paint
Hmm.
them as a form of branding.
Now I'm
Right.
curious. This might be. I'd have to have a Native American expert for this one. But is there like a big difference in between like a saddle versus like the blankets that they use? Is it like basically the same thing, just maybe less like to grab onto, or is it still like the same purpose
They
basically?
they
I don't
function the
know. No,
same for a human, but they function differently on comfort and stability depending on the type of horse.
I think that's what Sinistra was asking.
No, but that's just the knowledge I
Yeah,
have as
yeah,
a
yeah.
Okay.
non-Native American
Okay.
expert.
I know it's just
Got it.
like also to show the difference between the U.S. Horse wrangler guys and then these who are doing essentially the same thing but in a more humane and gentle way.
One of the things I did see about the Lakota, though, in my research, was
Oh,
they would not have the horses fenced up. They would be free range, but have the teenagers watch them. So that's a little discrepancy.
DreamWorks,
Well, I
DreamWorks
think
dropping the ball
this
again.
this village of Lakota did not have any teenagers.
I think that's what Little Creek is. Is it?
Is he a
He's
teenager?
I
We don't get
don't.
his
I
age,
figure he
but
could be
I
a
think he
little
could be
older.
past.
Yeah,
Well,
he just
yeah,
looks
figured,
small.
but we don't know his
Anywhere.
age.
I would say he's
Maybe.
probably anywhere between like teenager to young adult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Though I know so this is somewhere around that same area. That little kid that's running around when Rain is showing Spirit around the whole area. Can we just agree that that kid's in the wrong?
Yeah.
Because like that little snot child is hanging off of his nostrils, and he basically just reacts normally. He's like, "Oh," then she starts sobbing, and it's like, oh, God, what
Yeah.
am I supposed to do, man? You're fucking like
It-
hanging off my nose.
my schnoz.
Nose.
I agree. Child's in the wrong.
Yeah.
One that time.
Is it bad that it reminded me a lot of the child from Ice Age?
No.
Oh Oh, it does.
They're very they're
Yeah, they're
similar.
very similar, right?
Well, this shell doesn't have that uncanny valley look to it. So
Yeah, I guess. It's a little bit cuter too. That kid's not that cute, unfortunately.
I know that Ice Age child's disturbing looking. I guess just the humans in Ice Age look disturbing.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be like not like they're like Neanderthals, right? Or not Neanderthals, but like
Early
descendant,
humans.
early humans,
Early hominids.
hominids, early two-leggeds. Um, I I like all the bonding stuff in this because it feels organic. It doesn't feel like super forced, and I like that he doesn't like even after like it's well we'll say roughly like 3 or 4 months time, and and I'm sure that by the point of between when he's at the U.S. fort and then this, he can kind of tell the difference between the two camps, but he still does have that rebellious, like I don't want to be tamed, get off my back. But but it's more playful with Little Creek than it is with the Colonel, obviously.
Yeah, we get
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
my estimate was Spirit was with the Lakota for a little under a year was my guess from how long the mane was because that looked like a good foot of hair.
Error.
Would have been about 12 months with an inch a month, right? So my guess
We
was about a
err.
year. He was with the Lakotas.
We err for accuracy here.
Yes.
Uh,
I guess for just a question point, do you
mhm.
think the U.S. Army knows the location of the Lakota village at the time that Little Creek and Spirit were in their uh, fort?
Probably.
Okay,
Mm,
so
It,
Spirit broke out with Little Creek to get all of their horses freed, all their branded horses. It took them 4 to 6 months to track them down.
well,
Well, there's probably a lot of other, tribes and little areas that they were, taking apart before they got to them.
yeah,
because yeah,
we don't know that they knew where they were.
yeah. I
I
just
wouldn't say
assume
yes to that. Uh,
I just assume I because I don't. It's another thing. This movie doesn't really have a. I don't know what year. I mean, it's Wild West era, but I don't know what year it takes place because it might be. It's probably during the Native American Wars, and
oh shoot,
but
I actually have that written down. There,
oh,
there is a time frame based off the railroad talk that they had.
okay. What is it?
Um, bring it up real quick. It's between 1870 and 1883.
Okay, so yeah, probably roughly around Native American Wars. I'm guessing. But unfortunately, we don't have our war guy here either.
No,
Hmm.
he would know. Especially when they're
He
talking
would.
about Nebraska and Utah and the region that they're near.
Yeah, but they would probably by this point have known where a lot of the tribes were generally, and and obviously the shady dealings and human civil rights things that happen with that.
And there was also somewhat of a political thing going on because it's not just the U.S. went around killing natives, which yeah, I mean that certainly happened,
Yeah,
but
that
there was also like a structure where some instances you needed to get permission to enact violence towards a particular tribe. So they might know where they are. They just didn't have the permission to wipe them out.
yeah,
Essentially,
they don't have a what would we call it a just cause for said actions.
Okay, I didn't
But
see it so much as their intention. I mean, yes, they did go to just pillage, but I figured it would be more of going to locations where their horses were, being that a Native American of the Lakota, Little Creek was the one who pretty much got them to escape in the first place.
Yeah, but I also doubt that. I mean, unless did they mention specifically in the movie they knew that he was Lakota?
they did.
yeah,
Yes,
they did.
The
Yeah,
when he is
colonel
captured.
Yeah.
Yeah, the colonel
Okay.
said he was a Lakota.
Okay.
Not as tall as a Cheyenne, and
Pretty
not as
is
a
something else.
yeah,
The Crow.
the Crow. Which I forgotten about the Crow. Uh, yeah, and if I remember correctly, Lakota were kind of in the Pacific Northwest area, so this would have been kind of probably one of the last areas to be developed upon. So they might have been one of the few holdouts. Who knows? But
Okay.
it's an interesting little subtext. I kind of forgot about when obviously when I was a kid and watching this, I didn't really pick up on, and then kind of watching this again, I was like, oh yeah, the whole manifest destiny stuff, and the Western Expanse.
Yeah, just didn't learn that at the age of 4, that history lesson yet.
I didn't see this when I was 4.
Yeah, I didn't learn about Native Americans till 3rd grade.
Mine was 4th grade.
I was living in Germany during those times, so we were not talking about Native Americans.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it would be weird if you were like talking about, all right, and then I would actually, you know what? That would be something I would love to see a different country's take on our own history. That would actually be very interesting.
Yeah, I think that Americans think that other countries actually give a rat's
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
about America's history, which is like we really, really don't. I actually got in a fight with someone online a few days ago because they were like, "Everyone cares about 9/11." I'm like, "No, it's kind of only an American thing."
Yeah,
That's a very American mindset to have.
Other places probably know of it. Yeah, they wouldn't care.
oh yeah, I mean, it was on the news.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a. So I kind of watching this now as an older person. That was an interesting thing to pick up on, even though it's very slight, and they obviously don't harp on it very much. But it's a very. I think they handle it pretty well for what it is. I do like that freaking the colonel gets pushed into the river. Although I remember as a kid, now many years ago, I was pretty sure that Little Creek got shot or the horse got shot, but neither of those two things technically happened.
The horse got shot.
Are we sure? I don't see any blood, but that doesn't mean that's not true.
There is a dot
Oh, okay.
uh, on the I guess where the shoulder would be on a horse. Or whatever.
Sorry. I'm not an animator. I don't know these like little
Okay.
There's no
animation
pool of blood, but there's a entry wound.
I was figuring
entry.
from
Okay,
a 3-foot range of a colonel to fire
for the
and
cult,
miss would be maybe,
unforgivable.
I don't know if even on par with Stormtrooper is adequate, but
Yeah. So he did hit the horse. I
Now
guess
that
he
is
technically missed his target of Little Creek, but the horse was moving, so
that is
I
like,
guess that could make it a little bit.
you have to do like frame by frame on that. It's so small. It's like 5 seconds.
I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
It's not a
Okay.
eye catcher. What is an
Well,
eye catcher? Or
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, what is an eye catcher that certainly caught my attention that I don't think I've pretty much ever seen in animation is there was an interaction with a unoutlined animation image when Spirit bites the apple or the pile of apples. That baffled me. Now it's a quick, just simple cut because the layering, the apples are behind Spirit, so when his mouth goes down, it just cuts to a next image of the apple being bitten into. But the interaction between an unoutlined image in 2D animation did catch my attention.
It was
I
like,
guess I'd see the scene again because I can't even picture what you're describing about the outline thing.
well, like like when you do like
In
cell
most,
shading
yeah,
and
most
stuff. Yeah.
animations, when you look at like a big room and everything is just normally like a background image look, just like a painting, but then there's that one drawer that has the black outline around it, you kind of, it's a giveaway that whatever character comes in is going to interact with that in some way.
Okay,
It's
I
like
see what
when
you mean.
there's like no an
A
example that
separate
I
asset that
yeah
sticks out from
that's yeah it's like
the other layer.
and it's
Okay,
colored differently or something or
yeah,
etched up
I see
differently.
what you mean now.
Yeah.
And then
I think in
immediately, sorry, never mind. Since you go,
no you're good you're good.
oh, I was
No
going to
no no
say,
mine might be
immediately
comes up yeah later.
afterwards, Spirit looks at Rain and it goes back to his pen and the apples are gone.
Yeah, Yeah, that one down. Continuity
Yeah.
error.
Eh,
But don't worry,
wouldn't
they
be an
appear.
animated movie without.
Yeah, they appear much later. They come
Uh,
back.
he that guy just likes picking up apples. He likes making little towers. I will say the I'll call it river rafting scene where they're that's
Swimming.
yeah, pretty bad CGI on that. The age.
Hmm.
Oh well, I
I,
shouldn't say pretty
I thought
bad.
the
It's just
water
age.
actually looked okay.
No, the water
Um,
looks fine. It's the landscape around it that looks off.
oh, I actually didn't look at the background. I looked at the water and the horses.
Oh. Well, you were looking correctly. You were looking where they wanted you to look. I had my glasses on for that one.
Oh, I guess
I
again. I feel like I need to go back. It looked fine to me, except one part in one scene.
One.
Yeah, rain. It looks like the water's going upstream, like it reverse direction.
I did not see that, but
But that
I
was
was too
only
busy
for
looking
one.
at the rocks. Do you Okay, this is another question that I have. I when I was watching it, I was like, I wonder if that's funny. That's funny to bring up or not. But like, he technically saves both Rain and Lakota, or not Lakota, Lakota, Little Creek, by stopping the bullet from being able to shoot him again. But he only goes to save the other horse. He doesn't like help Little Creek at all. But then he's like, "That horse saved me," and I'm like, "Well, you're still hanging on a rock. Like nobody's coming to get you. You could just like I don't know. I just found. But
Little
do you
Creek
think
didn't
that?
give Spirit those eyes, okay?
Yeah, he did.
Said Rain had Spirit around her hoof. Or neck, as Springs put it earlier.
Or yeah, tied around something.
will say they
Uh,
really are pretty brutal when it comes to Rain's, um, attack scene. I'd say because like obviously they're trying to fake us out into thinking that she died, and they do
yeah,
a very good job of it.
mhm, yeah.
Even like to this day, I feel like I gaslight myself to be like, "Oh my god, no! Did they actually kill her? No, she's dead, right?"
I had the same experience where I was like, wait, she didn't die, right? I don't remember that, but like she looks like she definitely did.
The animation showing her still breathing is the most helpful
Eh,
part of that.
I know,
yeah, I
but
mean, the
like
rest
it's
are dead.
yeah, like it's
Well, yeah, they
especially like
one of the soldiers is even like, leave her. She's not gonna make it. Something along
yeah,
those lines.
they do so much like selling of it just for it to not be true.
What I
It's
don't
very
get
I
is
will
how
say I
she.
don't know how she made it from
oh
where she
yeah,
got
well,
shot.
movie
I was
magic.
gonna say I don't know how she got to the river bank so fast.
Mm.
After
Floated.
the after the waterfall, she got there far faster than Spirit.
Well, because she's full of hot air.
Well, when they did fall off from the waterfall, she was closer to that side. She did fall to the left side. Spirit fell to the right.
Well, yeah, that would have killed a human. It definitely would have killed a horse.
Oh, definitely, absolutely.
Definitely,
Horse v
absolutely.
concrete splat.
If not killed them, their legs would be broken.
Oh
They
yeah,
wouldn't be swimming.
that's what I thought was the instance with Rain. I thought she had a broken leg.
Yeah. Which, fortunately, if you know horses, that's pretty much a death sentence.
Get the shotgun.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
How are there these many people that are just like horse wrangling? It's amazing.
It was a booming industry back then.
I guess so. I just didn't realize it. Although I guess these are the guys in the movie are again cavalry guys, but it's amazing that this horse just keeps getting caught like 3 times.
Yeah, the ones by the river are army guys again.
Yeah.
So since you brought up that they did a good job faking out with Rain's
Hmm.
death, Brinks having seen it for the first time, did you get faked out?
No, because she was still
Yeah, she's
breathing.
breathing.
As I said, I could see her chest cavity going up and down. If it was still, like it was just an animation of like she could be sleeping, uh, then yeah, I probably would have been faked out with that.
Oh, so you didn't even consider that she would die off screen and Littlefoot would be like, "Sorry, Rain didn't make it." The spirit later or something.
Nope, because Little
Okay.
Creek comes up to her.
Yeah, but I mean, how is he going to get her up the waterfall?
How's he gonna cure a bullet wound?
I don't know.
And a waterfall fall.
I didn't think her dead because she didn't actually die on screen.
Okay,
Fair. It's a kids movie too, so I mean it is asking a lot for one of the main
but
characters to just actually like straight up die.
I mean,
I
did you
mean,
think Bambi's mom died, or did you think she was still alive?
But
okay.
that was like within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
We
is
yeah,
didn't
not
that's
like
true.
need to
considered
know her.
to uh, Land Before Time with Littlefoot's mom.
Okay,
That's a
yeah,
death on camera. Or
Yeah.
if you want to go with horses, um, was it Artax from Neverending Story. That's a horse dying on
Oh,
don't
camera.
do
spoilers!
not please
Spoiler
do not
warning.
yeah do not bring up Artex. I will cry.
Bring you
As
back
a
on
lot of people
cars.
did.
I'm curious about. So these are obviously like horses they're sending for work and everything.
Mm.
How I wonder. I'm trying to figure out would would that be how long would they last? I'm trying to remember how long they would generally last as just like workhorses. It's not that long, right? It's like
I didn't look into that. I don't know the answer on that one.
hmm,
It's also a way for them to calculate the train's horsepower.
that's good.
Well,
That's good. So
the
that's your best one so
ho-
far on the podcast.
horsepower isn't even one for one either, which is annoying. I hate that. My car's 5 horsepower, which means it takes 5 horses. No, that's not what
Also
that
depends on the
means.
horse.
Unfortunately, your gripe is mitigated because you don't drive.
Yeah, a
Well, I just
Mustang
don't like the
Stallion
name of the measurement doesn't match
versus
what it's
like
Well,
based
yeah,
off of.
a skinny
I'll give you
nag.
that.
Yeah, they don't
Skinny
line up.
nag.
I'm just saying, depending on the horse, they don't line up.
No, yeah, yeah, it's a not a calculable thing.
Uh, what I want to point out is being showing the whole Murphy scene where how much Spirit had to be tied down in order to not like wiggle out of any instance. Having one rope over his neck with Rain, he could have gotten out of that very easily if he wanted to leave.
Yeah, but he's emotionally defeated.
I don't know. He's trying to drag her away.
No,
Sorry, I was too
That's
busy
how I
looking
saw
up
it.
horsepower. I missed the point here. Sorry.
That when
I love
Rain's
that.
kind of like babysitting Spirit
Yeah.
with
Oh,
the quote.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, the way I saw it of like, oh, they're handcuffed together situation. He
Okay.
could have just gotten that off his neck with how much
Yeah,
he showed he could take it off of Murphy being tied down.
but he likes her. I thought you were talking
Um,
about like the later scene where he gets
that is
taken
a
away
good
from.
point.
He does try to get away from her at some point though, like not away from her, but he's like
Yeah.
trying to take her with, and then she sits down or something, and he's like, fine. But
I love
Yeah.
it because she looks like a dog, just sitting there. Just
if she
ah
really wanted to, she definitely, or if he really wanted to, he could have just snapped free.
yeah. Okay, so Sprinks, I will concede you have a point there. I was confused.
No, it's okay because I think it's right after that part when they walk him back to the village that Matt Damon narrates like, "Oh, for the first time in my life, my heart is now split in two."
I thought you were gonna say Matt Damon walked on screen, and I was like, oh man, that's a
No, he
very
did that.
different movie.
He did that in Arthur, but not in this.
Not to keep bringing back Emperor's New Groove, but it would have been. Tell me if this is a bad idea. If he like Cusco'd the situation at some point, would that have been funny? Even
Live
though
That's a
it's
bad
action,
idea.
live action, bad idea.
bad idea.
Good
Animated,
parody.
maybe.
I don't want to see Spirit animated Matt Damon. I'd rather see live action one. But
We haven't really talked about the Colonel versus Spirit in the corral or whatever. I forgot what they called that area.
oh yeah, we didn't. We kind of
Yeah.
skipped over.
Very satisfying.
Yes.
He breaks Spirit, kind of. He gives this grandiose speech about how great we are. See, we can take the Lakota just like I can take down this horse. And Spirit just throttles him.
Yeah, and then he's
Very
gonna shoot
satisfying.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's not out of the question there. That makes sense for the situation.
If the main guy in charge of like the troops or whatever can't break a horse, nobody the horse is gonna have to go. Unfortunately.
Did you see that as an issue, Sprinks, or were you just
No,
stating that's what
I
was
saw
happening?
that as like the antagonistic character of the Colonel of what's being shown, being that he pulled the gun on Spirit it's definitely more of rule by fear than love.
Yeah.
He didn't mercy the horse and just set it free, being like, "Oh well, that one's you know he won't
Well,
break."
it ruined his honor. He had broken every horse since before that.
Yeah, I just made him look like a fool after the speech.
Yeah, we don't know how
Yeah.
many dead horses are behind the fort.
Now,
Well,
do you think it's
they didn't try. They didn't want to kill horses because horses were valuable.
yeah.
Didn't mean they didn't kill them. They tried not to. On the point of things being valuable, Littlefoot would have kept that rifle though. Point out, he wouldn't have
Yes.
just taken it.
Yeah.
Littlefoot,
Little
Sorry,
Creek.
Little
Little
Creek.
Creek. I wrote Littlefoot on my first note, and then I corrected it later. Little Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have kept the
Can't.
rifle.
Yeah, you would have. That was yeah. That's how they bartered in with the Native Americans was usually rifles and that sort of thing. That was very valuable.
So I don't know about you guys, but I am sweating coming up on Act 3 because I just have so little to say about it. It seems like such a slog of an act.
Uh,
Yeah.
Broadbay,
It's the
you and
weakest
I
part of
kind
the
of
film.
both. I have 4 lines in my notebook on the last act.
Yep. Yeah.
For the
It's
last half hour.
I have
I
2 pages of notes. One whole page was for Act 1. About a little over 3/4 is Act 2. I have 4 lines for Act 3.
Wow.
I kind of remember this whole train sequence at the end being more than when I rewatched it.
Train
Kind of remember it.
sequence is funny.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No. I was yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think the train sequence is really funny because I would like to imagine that that's really when Spirit's yoke has finally cracked and he is just totally hallucinating and foaming at the mouth in one corner of the train car while all the other horses are huddling for warmth and looking at this guy like, what the hell's wrong with this kid?
Yeah.
Oh, great, we got
Well,
stuck with him.
Little Creek put peyote on those apples. He's having a shamanistic
You're right.
vision.
Yeah, there was something in the apple, something in that hay the other horse
Yeah.
gave him. He's getting
Yeah.
hypothermia. It's just
Yeah, I do like the winter scene. I gotta say, it's very cool. I kind of again,
of course
it's
it
another
is.
scene. I know. Again, it's one where I wish there was more like scenes like that. But obviously, as Crimson told us, there's reasons there's so few of those.
Yeah, it gave me this is the sad version of Polar Express looking at stuff in the snow.
I hate how much I like that. Uh, oh, I now I want to see a mashup.
Oh, just
Polar.
swap out the music.
Oh, there's like more like out there stuff, people like making like mixing like Frozen with like Tarzan or something. At least this has like some
Oh, the
basis in
theory.
reality.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
The theory that
I mean, while
Tarzan
we're at it,
is their brother.
Yeah.
just edit over the little romance montage between the two cars from the Cars movie, and when Spirit
Yes.
and Rain are out. I feel like it has the same color sequence, like very similar
I
frame.
agree.
Yeah.
The day
Yeah.
drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, except this time, Spirit didn't get shit on in the face because there was no mud puddle in Cars.
And amazingly, that would have fit more into this than that movie. Freaking DreamWorks just couldn't go the full Pixar way, huh? Didn't want to have shit
No,
flicks.
Sinister,
All
as
right.
you said, they wanted to focus more on the water bit that they took out of El Dorado.
Hey, they came up with that, okay? They have every right to. We're on the 90s anymore. There's no more gross out stuff, okay?
Yeah.
No 8 Crazy Nights deer scenes,
This is
okay? That's
absolutely
not
not.
happening.
It's a rated R movie. That's
Yeah.
Covered in human feces.
Uh but
Anyone else got anything for Act 2?
I have 2 things.
okay.
First being that when you're captured a second time, I think this is the lesson to learn that your main focus should be on getting back to the herd and your family. Stop getting distracted.
Would he know how to get there?
He
That was
got
the
there
problem
when
I
he
had
got
later.
freed.
Yeah. I don't know horse senses, so again, in the dark in this, but I don't know how, like, if they have like a sixth sense for like finding their way to like a
We have
herd or
no idea how far that train went,
yeah, the
how
train,
long it
yeah,
went.
yeah,
Well, it
I
also
like to
said
think that he would just look up and see the eagle, follow it home.
yeah, the follow the eagle.
Yeah,
well,
or
when
the
they got to the
stars.
train and went over the hill, he said it was heading towards his home, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
They were
right.
Yeah,
going the
yeah,
direction of
okay,
his home.
heading
yeah,
towards his homeland.
yeah. He was trying to stop it.
Would that
That's right.
mean that the fort is really far away?
Yeah,
That
because
is what that would mean.
yeah, because well, it was like a 2-day journey,
Yeah, through the
2 or
lightning
3.
night.
Yeah, it was
Well,
2
the
or 3
train
days.
was also 2 days though.
Was it, or
Day
was it
and
Yeah,
only a
cycle day.
one day? Was it
I think
just
it was
through
only
one
one.
night
It was just one night.
to the next morning? Was that sun over the hill a sunrise?
Probably.
Issues with this is
Um,
if if Ryder was here, he would tear out his hair from the world building here of the time
Oh
base.
yeah, Ryder would not like this.
The geography. Yeah.
Yeah, the geography is a little
No.
confusing, but
What I think we get here is the fort. The five cowpoke dragged Spirit really far away.
yes,
Agreed.
my favorite unit of measurement: really far, not so far, kind of far.
Like Willow.
Yeah, I think this is better than Willow. Willow is at least they have like night scenes. That just was like nothing.
Now, Willow the
They do a
movie or
good
Willow the
job with
show?
night. Since
Well, they're both bad, but Willow the show. Not bad as in they're not good. Bad as in the time
The
doesn't make sense.
geography.
Time and geography are all out of whack. At least we know these guys knew what the Pacific Northwest looked like and what the time period was. So,
Much like Willow that didn't.
yes.
yeah.
Is it in the future? Is it in the past? I guess we'll never know.
The second thing I had.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Is Spirit's mom a mare?
That would be a female horse, correct?
Is a mare
I
a female horse, or is it a type of horse?
I think it's a female horse. Which would be
Okay.
a yes then.
Okay. So a
I'll do a
mare is a
little Google
female horse.
search.
how did you not find this when you're searching up horse births?
No, because when
A female of a
Spirit
horse
is
or
in his
other.
pen and Rain, I think, yells, like, neighs at him or something, he says
Yeah.
mares.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't know if that was a race remark.
No, no, it's a
Spirit,
So-
the racist
reference.
horse.
So mare being female is essentially
mare is
just
female.
that Spirit just
Saying
going
woman.
women.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's not
It's a good joke
sexist when
for
he does it.
2002.
Yeah, if it fly in 2002.
I still find it funny. Don't know what that says about me though.
I'm not gonna
There was
comment.
a good transition. Oh, I'm speaking of transitions. My Sprinks is showing. Where?
Covered up.
When Spirit was looking up at the stars, I think it was during his 3-day wait period,
Mhm.
and the glimmer in his eye turns into a star in the sky that his
Oh,
mother and herders can see. I think it was very good. Once again, very simple, but I think it did it well.
I think this movie excels at the simple stuff.
Doesn't have to be complicated.
A
Yeah.
grill is a grill, no matter where you are.
But this grill is not a home.
That's pretty much what I got out of that scene.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could find the SpongeBob
Of course.
in Spirit.
Of course I can find the SpongeBob in anything.
Where's the coin slot?
Anyway, that is all I have on Act 2.
Right.
All right. We'll jump to Act
Now,
3.
yeah,
So obviously
and
the train to the end.
train to the end.
Act 3 feels like one very long action sequence. It just is non-stop, which I don't know if maybe that's why I don't like Act 3 very much, but it
Mm.
is just train cars exploding and forest fires and then a really big chase and that's it.
I'm sure that when they pitched the movie, they're like, "We wanna make a movie about a horse." And they were like, "That's really boring. There has to be explosions. There has to be an action sequence. There has to be high stakes intensity." And they were like, okay." And that's probably why it's the weakest part, is 'cause it's really not the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure their
Do
writing team was, how's this movie end? Let's see, climax, happy ending. Okay, how do we go about that? We do a climax and we do a happy ending.
They were like, "Have you ever seen the movie Thelma and Louise?"
oh.
'Cause we got something kinda similar.
do really, really like the final moment between the three of them before they part ways. But aside from that, I think third act is just a little. It just kind of lacks substance. I don't really feel like there's a lot of character development that goes on during this part.
Yeah. I think
Um,
the only thing is, like, the Colonel finding, like, the, like, begrudging respect for, like, the horse and, Little Creek, and
that's a
that's
great scene.
yeah, that is a great scene.
One of my
Uh,
favorite.
yeah, it humanizes him ever so slightly.
It does. It doesn't make him one-dimensional bad guy. He
Yeah.
has a layer now. Layer of respect.
Yeah,
But
especially
I
'cause-
agree. Go on.
oh, I was just gonna say, especially because one of them had him in sights with a shotgun or
Yeah.
whatever kind of gun that was at the
Yeah.
time. And I could have maybe taken him out given good aim, but it was nope. You fought yourself free.
Mhm. Listen, we've had
You
3
ruined it.
encounters with you so far, and they've all just ruined us, economically and, morally, so we're just gonna let you go.
And I like how subtle they are with in the movie here, where the Lakota tribe has shrunk after that first attack.
Mhm.
Their tribe was certainly larger when they got attacked, but the ending here, it's like half the size. So they don't directly say, "Yeah, we lost a lot of our people," but you can see there.
Yeah.
There's some show. Because I know you love to talk about showing. So there you go. There's some show.
Glad he caught it. Doesn't
Yeah.
just have to be me for these things.
Well, no, I bring it up when it's applicable.
Here,
Uh,
I could take one on your page. The writing and dialogue.
That's
Um,
talk about
writer.
everything. Yeah, that's right.
You coulda done, like, a dumbass thing and done my thing.
I'm just trying to think of Crimson examples now, but
What yeah,
Right, I'm
what
all
is
over the board.
yeah, he's
can't think of any.
he's,
Okay,
uh, I l even though I think we can all agree it's a little doesn't really fit in with the nature of the story, I do like the train sequence of it just humbling and everything. It's not at all probably how it would actually work, but I like how it's done. Seems somewhat believable.
I think it's the tumbling's believable.
Well,
Getting
him not
50
getting hit was
horses
not
to
yeah.
pull it up, I don't know if it is.
I don't know.
The fact that the train got lift off, went off the ground, that I don't think there was enough for that. That
No.
takes a lot. That
Well,
thing
that's what I
weighs
saw in the movie.
It just hit a
several tons.
rock.
Just hit a rock.
Yeah, hit a pebble that just trajectored it
Yeah, yeah,
skyward.
yeah.
What I think is funny is Spirit played dead like a possum.
He learned.
It worked.
Yeah.
Learn
Genius.
from what? Learn
Well,
from
All
where?
the times he's been captured.
yeah,
Trying to
like
fight doesn't work, so stop fighting.
yeah, the path of least resistance.
What
Spears was
was that
smart.
movie?
Over
Dinner
the
with Schmucks, Steve Carell,
Yeah. Yeah.
where he's like, no one wants to punch you if you play dead.
I mean, it's true. Well, I don't know actually. Now that I think about it, they would probably just beat you up more.
obviously, a horse would not be able to kick the chains off like that,
No.
but throwing it out there. Anyways,
I don't know. Maybe the first
I
one.
mm,
The second one would have
no.
had the
actually,
tautness
it probably would have been easier just like try to pull them out of the stirrups than actually kicking them off.
because they were
So you know, I
hooked.
don't.
They were hooked downward in, right?
Yeah, but so yeah, so actually the weight of the train would have been working against them, and not just the pull of the horses. So
Yeah, that's the thing.
uh,
Once the first set of horses left, that train should have pulled the other set of horses down. Yet they were strong enough to
Well,
hold.
I'm trying
I
to
mean, they
figure out
were.
why. I was just gonna say I'm trying to figure out why they're trying to move the entire train down towards tracks that aren't being built yet.
that
That
was
aren't.
another that was another problem I had where they bring dynamite supposedly to blow through the mountain or the hill or whatever, and they don't have enough, so they just give up and then bring
Well,
the train up.
no,
Well,
they hit
they hit
bedrock,
bedrock.
Oh, sorry,
and they
didn't
don't
have
have
subtitles on.
John Henry on their team.
My favorite folktale.
Yeah, and I don't know why there was two train engines either. The one that
Well, the
smashed into at the
In
end.
case the first one broke.
yeah,
Sure,
you know, you
'cause
know
it
that
wasn't the
saying
train that
always
brought Spirit; it was a different one.
you know that saying always bring two trains. Well, that's where it comes from.
Also, is it true the train tracks that brought Spirit are angled at like vertically versus horizontal to the hill? Does that line up right?
I mean, doesn't it
When
come up
Spirit gets off the
along
train
the
and
side?
down the ramp, what he's facing, all the tents, is that not the hill in front of him?
It's like at a
The
8 o'clock angle.
the
No,
ones like
no,
he faces when they get on the
10
other
o'clock
side, or
angle.
the ones that from when he leaves the train.
When he steps off of the train, so
Okay.
being at the train yard or whatever with all the
Yeah.
tents, and he looks forward and sees them all. The hill directly in front, is that the hill they're pulling the locomotive up?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
I
so,
I
but
think it's to the left.
Okay. If it's to the left, it makes more sense then. Okay.
it's a great. I will say I like the layout of this area. It's probably one of my favorites.
Oh, the
Cozy little
locomotive
place.
little
Yeah,
campground?
yeah, yeah. The locomotive campground. It looks very cool, but maybe it's just because it reminds me of Atlantis.
What
Oh,
about it
okay.
reminds you of Atlantis?
Uh, well, not like the trees and everything, but
Oh,
just like the camps they make throughout when they're getting
Oh,
to Atlantis. That's
Atlantis,
what it.
the Lost
Yeah,
Empire, the movie.
yeah,
Not
yes,
Atlantis, the actual underwater city.
yes. I just now realized that could be easily misconstrued.
no, I was even thinking of the Atlantis movie, but I was like, what? Huh?
Yeah, Sinister, were you just
Atlantis
waiting for
Atlantis, bringing
the
it.
fireflies to break out?
Yeah, yeah. That kind of reminded me of it, just slightly. It's very different, but maybe that's why I like it so much because I like that scene. Um, but actually, no. I think another reason I like it is because my grandparents in their house they had a bunch of old like frontier kind of like drawings or whatever, and that kind of reminds me of it too. Little classic oil painting look.
On the train with the other horses, which as a child I did not notice were the ones from the Lakota. Even the
I
one
had
with
to,
the
yeah.
circle on his
I had
face
to
very
remind
clearly.
myself. I was like, wait, why are they being so nice? These are just random horses. And I was like, oh wait, they're actually the same horses. Hmm.
Spirit's just got a rep.
Spirit's been
All the horses
broken,
know who
but
he
then he
is.
sees stuff in his head, and then he's all happy again,
He's on
ready to push through.
he's on drugs. We've established this.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
Mayday,
right.
hey.
Broadway said he lost his yoke. He is gone
He's a
bonkers.
cracked individual.
How do we think the fire looked?
It's okay.
I think it
I
looked
think
fine.
it benefits. Yeah, I think it mainly benefits from the fact that the fire's at night, so you don't really
Yes.
have to see it in the full day. It's like a lot of shadows, a lot of darkness.
I think it was a lot of background layering for the look rather than
Hmm.
CGI use.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think it benefits from that.
Yeah, if it was CGI, oh, that would have aged very, very, very poorly. The
It would have
explosion,
stuck out a lot.
The explosion I don't like, but the fire is okay.
Not only do I not like it, I hate it. My least
Not
favorite
only
part of the movie is the freaking explosion. Why did it blow
Wow.
up?
because it was full of coal.
Why would it blow up?
Pressure.
Because it
That
was
still
full.
wouldn't have it blow up.
Listen, something has to blow up here, and that makes the most sense.
It makes sense
A
that they
barrel of
could
water
blow
wouldn't
up.
blow up.
It makes sense they could blow up. It doesn't make sense if none of the both trains were active. If it was just, cold coal hitting cold coal. They weren't
Well,
running
it's metal on
engines.
Even
metal,
if they
so it would
were
have
both hot
sparked.
coal, it wouldn't have blown up. That's kind of my point. That there's no situation here where that explosion should have existed in the first place.
Wasn't there like a? It's not a coolant,
The
but
coals,
isn't
I
there
guess,
like
could
a
conduct
water,
out.
like steam situation, right?
Well,
It's
yeah,
steamed, yeah. It gets released through
Yeah.
the top, obviously.
Could have had an explosion just
obviously.
force then, of like bits and pieces, not necessarily flame explosion.
Unless I hear otherwise, I'm just gonna assume that they needed an explosion. That was the only thing that
Oh,
would have.
that's absolutely
Yeah.
what it was.
Oh, okay.
Makes him look like a cool warhorse.
I I will say for him being so environmental, I feel like he did more environmental damage than they would have done with a single set of train tracks
That's
in the
not his
moment.
homeland.
Forest
I guess
fires
you're
are
right.
nature. They're a way
Only
of
you
life.
can prevent wildfires.
Yeah, I didn't see
So this
Smokey.
is when we'd want the eagle to fly in and try to save him, but then catch fire and burn, right?
Pretty
This is
much.
what we would want.
But really slowly, not like combusting fast. It's just like
And
So if
when the
awful.
eagle pulls like a Lord of the Rings and then just swoops underneath them while they jump off the cliff.
Yeah, yeah. Little Creek grabs onto him and it flies him away like a paraglider. That would have been amazing.
just like Emperor's New Groove.
I, I think we should have watched Emperor's New Groove. I don't know
Crimson next season.
next season.
So I'm just
I
gonna
don't
say
want to
this:
watch Empress.
Kronk's New Groove, so much better than Emperor's New Groove. That is just my opinion.
That's a hot take.
It's a
That,
hot
that,
take.
I've
Stand
only seen
behind it.
30. I've only seen 30 minutes of Kronk's New Groove, but I don't
Put it on
remember it.
DVD.
So
You gotta stop over. We're gonna do it.
Yeah, I've seen
okay, I
Kronk's New
I
Groove is
will.
not bad. I'll say that. I don't know if it's better.
I'll be the weigh-in factor here.
The animation definitely did downgrade, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But it's got
I also,
Kronk's Poppy.
I also am of
And
the hot take that Mulan 2 is actually really not that bad, but oh well, that's a for another day.
that one you probably would get a bit more pushback on.
I
How do you
know,
feel about the
I know.
live action
Yeah, I'm
one?
keeping my mouth shut on
Oh
that.
no, absolutely not. But that's for like a humanitarian purpose. But
There we go.
Oh, just for the camps, not for the actual movie.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that I have to just be completely honest. I never saw the live action one, so I can't really say like, oh, it's bad for X, Y, and Z.
That's
It's just
fair.
like, oh, full stop. They're being morally very bad choices are being made, so I'm just choosing not to engage at all.
There you go. That is the smart response.
I also chose not to see it because it
I
doesn't
just
have
didn't have any
Mushu.
interest.
No Mushu.
It didn't have Mushu?
No.
No,
Oh
Like
my
any
god.
or the cricket.
Oh. Why
It
did they
has a
make it
phoenix
then?
that doesn't talk or anything.
What?
They have a
Exactly.
witch.
Doesn't even sound like Mulan anymore.
I haven't watched it. I've just watched reviews. So
Boy, I
none
can't
of
wait to
us
cover
watched
that in the
live
future.
action Mulan. Oh, thank you.
Do a whole season of Disney live action remakes.
Yeah, the originals
What
to
a
the
waste.
remakes.
Yeah. I want to talk about a scene that is probably it's another one of those ones where it's back to the horse climbing thing. How did he get away up onto the top of there? They just cut away and then he's
Couldn't
on top
answer
of.
that.
Okay.
I have the same issue. I don't know
It's
how he
the
got up there
only.
so
It's
quickly.
kind of like the only black mark I really have on this movie is that doesn't make any sense.
I think he got up there fine. It just never shows you the path of him looking down. Because when they look
But
down, it's over the side where the 3 cavalry men are coming up.
yeah, they don't show the side he came up on, which Well, they kind of do, and it. I mean,
Even if there's a path, the time the time wasn't there. There wasn't enough time for him to get up there.
that's like the only really problem that glared out to me in this movie was that I was like, I know they could have made it make sense, but it's weird that it doesn't really. But
Mm. There's a couple issues with that, I guess, spire that they're on.
yeah, that it doesn't
I
make
forget what those are actually called. But
I
th-
I used to
they
know. I don't know.
they play with the height of it constantly. They climb it, they get to the top, and it's level with where Spirit's going to jump. Spirit jumps it, and then they land, and then the place to land is lower than the spire. And then they turn around, look at the colonel and the soldiers, and then that is level with them.
I'm guessing that
Um,
was at like the last like couple weeks before like the 6 years were up, and
I
they couldn't they
I
couldn't
don't
change
think
it.
I agree with you on the last part. The
You think it
leveling
was
of
level at the end?
the thing, I think, makes sense. That does change. Looking at the Colonel, they were never leveled. The Colonel's below 'em.
Yeah, the colonel is below them.
You have it up right now?
Yeah, I got it up right now. Yeah, he's definitely
I
below
mean,
them.
the
But
Colonel is shadowed, so he's not in the direct sunlight, and he lowers the. I think it's a Lancaster repeater, maybe, but he lowers it and he looks up at them.
No, 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 not the action. I mean, when they're safely across already and they look back at them.
yeah,
There's
But
a
then there's
shot
also
of them looking
oh
at them in their level.
maybe
the same time when we see them tumbling through the air, like once they've just landed onto the other little spot, um, looking behind them, the rock is clearly above them.
yeah.
Yeah, from where they jumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably
Yes,
the
I,
biggest continuity throughout this movie that I caught. It's just the height of
Yeah,
that thing.
but he gets to ride a spirit, so I mean that's cool, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
got his respect.
yeah. I don't know if it
Well
was just
earned.
well earned. Yeah, that's how you pay off, audience. That's how you pay off a successful ending.
unfortunately, I think that is one of only two scenes during Act Three that I genuinely really like. Is when they cross that ravine, and then the final moment between the three of them before they split off into their own
Mhm.
directions.
What about when that stupid guy headbutts a stick?
That is pretty good.
I'll say it's an honorable mention.
Yeah,
You mean the clothesline?
He had so
yeah.
much time
That
to
was great.
react to that.
Uh,
I really like the clothesline.
no, it's like it's Crash Bandicoot logic. You have time to react to it, but you got to time it correctly, and you don't.
The guy who was falling
Oh,
off the left side of his horse, who got hit by the
that
wall.
one was good. I liked that.
Yeah,
It
that was
bumps him up into the ceiling and then slams him across the side. Like it.
a couple of those guys died. I'm just saying it. A couple of those
Oh,
guys definitely died.
oh yeah. I mean,
No, like brush off.
Murphy
Yeah,
should have been trampled to death when
They
he
went
was trying
around
to
him.
close the door at the fort.
He's too bumpy. They wouldn't want to run over him.
no,
I think
he's
my
the sheriff
concern with
character.
this movie is there should have been more bloodshed.
Should have been. There should have been more gore.
Yeah, could you imagine if this movie, like halfway through, just turned into an absolute like Saw-esque gore fest?
It was just like horses eating humans and
Just like Happy Tree Friends.
yeah, like horses eating humans and like a horse uprising.
Yeah, the part
That's
where the movie just cuts very weirdly that Spirit actually just starts talking as Matt Damon.
I could talk this way the whole time. I was just trying to get to your level.
Yeah, a real Tom and Jerry movie situation.
No, it's not. That would be
You
better
could
than
talk
that.
this whole time?
Ah, pissed me off so much when you showed me that. So annoying.
yeah. When they're trying to break Spirit, he could chuck a guy into the fence and it just skewers the guy. Or he runs into a guy and bites his face off. They could get
I'm sure
right
I
there.
will
somebody
say
if
I'm a little sorry for those who are huge fans of this film and we're tarnishing it a
We're
bit.
not ruining it.
There's
no,
some people who might be like, finally, a movie I love that they're covering, and we're not spitting on it. Okay, it's a very
we're
beautiful
we're
film, but
we're saying how they could
We're
improve
giving a
it if
what
they
if
do a
scenario.
remake. Yeah,
we are
what
hypothetically.
It's like good
please?
movies can still have a level of improvement.
Yeah, look at Star Wars.
There's no such thing as a perfect movie.
I would have
I'll
I
go
would
with
have
that.
loved it if no I would have loved it if nobody said anything, just dead silence. That would have been amazing.
I acknowledge what you said. I don't want to comment
Well,
on it. Uh,
thank you.
Crimson, yeah, I agree. No, there is no perfectly made film. There are films that
No,
are close, and in opinionated ways, they're to each their own. There are close ones, but
you could also
Watching paint
argue that
dry, that's pretty close to a perfect movie.
you've been talking about that a lot recently. I think you've been watching too many paint drying videos.
I think that was Ryder that brought that
Oh,
up, not me.
pointing
agree to disagree.
fingers,
My notes.
pointing fingers.
My notes.
I
I will
dropped
say
them.
I am glad because I was kind of
Mm.
hoping for it when Spirit and Rain leave Little Creek and head back towards the herd looking. I'm glad the mom's still alive and that the time hasn't
Mhm.
passed to the mom dying.
That was another thing where I misremembered. I thought that she did die, and then wasn't surprised that she didn't.
I figured there could be a possibility they get back and then like some of the horses like shake their heads and it's a bit sad and oh the mom would have died. But no, the mom's there. I'm like good. Mom's still alive.
Good. And the foals are still foals,
Yeah, the foals
which
are still foals. They
That's
haven't
a
aged.
problem. Yeah.
haven't aged at all.
Unless those
Well,
are
they
two
haven't had
different
it.
foals.
Yeah, they could. To be fair, could be, or maybe a foal doesn't mature unless there's a steed to
Unless there's a
to
Matt
I, th-
Damon nearby.
I think they call them it yearlings. I think that's what they
yearlings.
call them.
Yeah,
But yeah, they should have been aged up. And I don't think Spirit and Rain should have even found the family. They should have
Oh,
just
I
went
think
off on
that's
their
fine.
own.
oh,
Uh,
we talked
It's
about it there.
impossible.
It's
Like,
not
no
impossible.
way.
So it's unlikely,
It's
but it's
They
unlikely.
have
possible.
no frame of reference where they are. He's like, that's where the homeland is. How would he know
Crimson the Eagle helped them.
It's true. The eagle was there.
that the whole time?
Oh, now you have a problem with the relationship with the Eagle.
Only when it suits you, huh?
You're making up issues.
I'm
We
not.
are.
I think.
I'll not accept this
Oh, I
slander.
was. I was stirring the pot. Uh, Also, there's a mountain range in there that looks like the Pride Rock. Just throwing it out there.
Didn't catch that.
I did. I just caught it while I was rewatching it, and I was like, don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I like it.
Dude, Pride Rock.
Pride rocks, dude.
That means they must be
Uh,
really far away if they're in Africa.
yeah, apparently, yeah, the Manifest Destiny went all the way to somebody else's country. Did anybody else have
Yeah,
anything for this last
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
no, last act?
Anything else in the movie, pretty much.
The what was it? Kind of towards the end when Spirit. I almost said Flicka. When Spirit and Rain are standing kind of on that hillside, and the rest of the herd goes around them, and then the camera's panning around. They are in specific locations to uh, gnaw on some grass. Like they got like in their like theater marked. This is your spot. Act situation. Like it was. I think it was a little too fast. I think it's a little too fake.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I think it's just one of
I
those
mean,
things where it's aged. It's just
it's like a
aged.
superhero action pose. I mean, it's a pose. It's setting up a look. That's fine.
Yeah, and especially with
Look,
these
these
kind of
are
movies.
everyone
Grazing.
grazing.
That's
Yeah,
yeah. Thank you. I looked down my notes. I'm
grazing.
like, I wrote it down. Yeah, grazing.
For whatever reason, I wrote down buffet.
But anything you mean for the whole film?
At this
Well, you
point,
have like
that
any
would cover
last
Act Three as well.
yeah,
That's something.
little bits. Yeah, anything
Uh,
you might have missed.
well, it's probably a stronger question to ask Ryder because of history and whatnot. But was it a thing in the U.S. Army to starve and dehydrate horses on bad behavior?
Oh, I wouldn't.
Not just bad behavior. But yes, that was actually a real thing. Was to break horses, the stubborn ones. They would do that.
Because it weakens them and makes them more subservient.
Pretty much the reason they gave in the movie. Yeah, that was historically accurate.
Okay. Another thing I have is the two mules that they call up to drag Spirit Away. Was one of them Clarice?
Apple Dumpling Gang.
Let's hope not. I don't want this in the Apple Dumpling Gang universe.
It's not Disney, so technically not, but I mean, in your headcanon, sure.
Could be. This could be a Clarice prequel.
Unfortunately, I'm just thinking of Silence of the Lambs. I'm not thinking.
Clarice.
I would say because of the
Clarice.
time era and things depicted in this movie, I was definitely getting a good amount of Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, I think
Throughout
that's
this
a
film.
similar kind of vibe. Yeah, the same thing. The transforming of the West and the both wildification and you know gentrification, I guess, in a certain sense. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I,
Trying to
I
think if I
guess
think.
the last thing I have, and it's kind of a question for everyone here, the theory
Mhm.
craft. If we were to cut the train out and probably use the Colonel as the finale, because I don't really know what else would be, what would it be? Any ideas?
What do you mean by cut the
Or would like
train out?
don't
Oh,
use
well,
the
we're
train.
saying that the train is the weakest part of the movie. It's a kind of a out of thin air climax. Doesn't
Yeah.
it kind of just feels added? It's not really
So
an
what would
issue
be
the
a
entire movie until boom, he's brought to the climax. But the Colonel was set up as an antagonist in the beginning. Then he gets a little thing at the end. It's a good little thing, but his
little thing
segment's
nonetheless?
shorter than the train segment.
Yeah,
So
that is true. Yeah.
I think
Unfortunately, I don't think they would be able to like push that section out for that much longer, or else it would just be bloated, just like the train sequence.
Yeah, I
what
think
do
they
you,
need something. They need something there, but I couldn't say what because
I
it
think
definitely feels like
it
I
could
kind of
have
agree with Broad
been
Bay.
so they could have done it like a Mulan situation maybe, but I'm thinking because of the when Spirit was much younger, interacting with snow and ice, and then going to the train where it starts snowing and seeing all the snow things outside, they could have been in a more snowy environment to connect kind of closer
Uh,
to the herd being around a snowy environment. If that helps for you, Crimson,
yeah,
that it's easier to find the family that way in the herd. But if there was like an avalanche situation or frozen lake situation with the Colonel, and then Spirit had to save him,
yeah.
Hmm.
That could have been interesting. I and I mean that does work for him. Kind of, he would still get this respect, and it would feel maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more like earned, perhaps. I mean, it still feels earned in this situation, but maybe even more so with that.
I think that would have
And it
focused
would,
stronger definitely on the
yeah,
more um, relationship thing with the Colonel, though it would weaken the whole eagle wanting to fly, be free,
y-
jump thing.
yeah, yeah.
that's what I was going to bring up.
And
The
Little Creek
less
would
into
have,
this the freedom stuff.
yeah, Little Creek would have had less to do. Not that he needs to be there, but I feel like their bond is also an important kind of thing to finish off.
That's not a
Mm.
bad on the fly
No,
thought.
no, yeah. I do because I do like the idea of like a frozen lake and him having to save the colonel. I do like that. It's a good callback to his kind of the beginning.
Yeah, and if that helps the impossibility of finding his herd again.
Maybe just a little bit.
I mean, the whole place could be covered in snow. It doesn't. Sorry, but
Ah,
that's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
you could find a problem in a haystack.
Of course,
I'm sure I could.
you could find
Why
a
is it shaped
haystack
that
and a
way?
problem.
Damn, he did it again.
Why is it lopsided? All right. Well, it sounds like everyone's done. So
Yeah.
we have finished with spirits, and we'll get on to our
Yay!
ratings. Clap,
Should
clap,
we
clap.
start with our guest? Just
Well, I guess might want to see how ratings
Oh,
go.
okay. Oh, that's what? Good point.
Yeah. So we'll start with Sprinks.
No, I gotta go first. All right.
Unless you don't
Let's
want to.
see. No, no, no. I can go first. Hmm. What do I want to start with? I'll start with subjective. I think this was a fine movie. I think this movie benefits for my subjective right now with the fact that I've been a bit of a Red Dead 2 player recently for a good 2 years right
two,
now.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think has definitely raised my subjective score. Is if I wasn't, because I think I would have found this movie just okay and kind of dull. Uh, but because of that fascination in the Wild West I've had recently, it has raised probably what it would have been. So I think this movie's fine. I would see it again. I don't know if I would go out of my way to watch it or necessarily recommend it to someone out of the blue. I feel like if someone's asking about like what's a good movie about horses, I'd bring it up, but other than that, probably wouldn't be on my radar. So subjectively, I'm giving it a 6.5. Now
For those random
objectively,
occasions people ask about horse movies.
yeah,
Hey,
I don't know. Dude, once in a
it's a
blue
big
moon.
thing. It's a big thing in the furry communities. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
the horse movies. Uh, Objectively, I think the voice acting's great. Because it doesn't need to line up at like pretty much at all. It's a lot of voiceover work. All the sounds of horses, which I do appreciate, are not human vocalized and they're actually horse vocalized. Line up with the animation, to my knowledge. Of the time, I think the Colonel dialogue's fine. Of voice work and that little cowpoke here and there, and then Little Creek, I think it's all fine. Animation, little jonky, just a little. Especially with what you said earlier, Crimson, about the shadowing. But with the 2D aspect and the CGI and the layered artwork and everything, I think it lines up really well and does stand out. The most impressive thing to me was the apples. That is something I don't think I've ever really seen in an animation before. It's probably happened, but it really stood out to me, and I really enjoyed that and thought it was very creative. Let's see the music. It's great music. It's really good music and score. I don't think there was one bad lyrical song. I think they all fit to what was being demonstrated on screen. Um, what else? The story, I did like the story. I think the story flowed very well. I think the pacing could have been a little tighter at parts, especially for Act 3, because as Broadway brought up, it was very just kind of just a fast action part to get kind of straight to the end. But I think it was still like the climax of the story, and it was uplifting story, and no one died, which I guess is good. Eagle didn't die, Rain didn't die, or the mom. Even the panther at the end, or the cougar didn't die. Um, yeah, I don't really know what to touch on because it's an animation. Probably forgetting, 50 million things. Cinematography, I'll touch on cinematography. I think the shots all lined up fine. The beginning shot of the pan with the eagle was very creative to kind of show you the world, being that you're following a wild horse around. So I think that was really good. The cinematography parts of like the montage of movement. So the cowpoke taking him to the fort, and then the getting to play with Rain in the like after the apple biting, and then the the train situation, like running down the hill and the explosion getting away, like those just like sharp cuts parts. I guess the montage was the other two, not the third, but just like sharp cuts to show the emotion to get across. And I guess that also falls on the animation. I think the animation for facial expressions was very well done, coming across of no dialogue horses to express what needed to be done. The whole uh, a big scene to me that really did that was Spirit communicating with his mom about the fire and his interest in it, and that he's like going out to check it to protect, and the mom's cautious about it, and they're just having a big whining to each other to signal like what's going on, but it still communicated everything well. So because of all this and a little bit of tweaks and a little bit of problems we discussed, I'm giving it an 8.
We'll go with Sinister next.
So I think, I almost came to this movie somewhat blind. I feel like because it was been such a long time since I saw this, but I definitely had memories of it. So I, I, I was, I think I said at the beginning, I was very worried that who was gonna age somewhat, and I wasn't gonna be as into it as I was when I was a kid, and I wasn't that into it when I was a kid. But I pleasantly found myself uh, able to enjoy the story probably more now as an adult than I probably ever did when I was a kid. I'm sure at that age I just was like, "Oh, this is just a movie about horses, and there's really no dialogue, and it's all realistic. There's no like cartoons. There's no like guys hitting each other over the head with hammers and stuff. So probably wasn't that interested, and now I can kind of see it in a different light, which was fun for this podcast. Uh, we definitely brought up some problems, but I think overall, uh, given the history of the film and all the stuff going on with it, I'm honestly surprised at how well the story works and flows and is meaningful, even with such small dialogue, and most of it's in a horse language, not in a human language, except for Matt Damon and a few, human characters or two-legged. I think the animation's pretty well for most of it. I think the some of the issues just come from the aging of mixing 2D with 3D elements and that kind of thing, which obviously DreamWorks was kind of pioneering and only became better with as time went on. Although now it's exclusively 3D, but eh. Um, just a few black marks on it are just some of the continuity errors and some of the fat of the story, which we went through, was mostly Act Three. Uh, and I think we expanded on it a little bit where we could kind of rewrite it a little bit better sequence for it. But given the movie what it is, it's serviceable but could be better. Uh, all in all, problems aside and good stuff aside, I think this movie works definitely more than it doesn't, and I wish it had more in it, and I wish it had been more of a success to merit kind of getting expounded upon more so than just a Netflix original show and some books and uh straight not a straight to DVD sequel, but a lesser sequel, I think. And so, but I feel confident giving this. I think I can say safely a 7.
All right. Broad Bay, your rating or
Yeah.
rating?
No, I feel like the story is almost like seeing how a mythos amongst the Lakota is being formed. I feel like this is a story that's going to be passed down forever, at least, past the end of that story. I think is kind of fun. Um, this movie, it has so much heart that I think it kind of overrides a lot of the problems of the CGI. And unfortunately, I don't think it fully overcomes some of the slog that is Act Three. Um, but I just watch this movie so often. I mean, at least 2 times a year, probably. Um, and I have the soundtrack on about 2 or 3 playlists on my phone, so I listen to this stuff really, really frequently. Unfortunately, because of that, I kind of have this, you know, sentimentality glasses that I can't really take off. I think objectively, this movie would probably sit at about a 7 out of 10 for me, but for me, it's always going to be like a 9 out of 10. I just really, really love this movie.
I guess for me, I also have some uh, nostalgia for this film. As I mentioned, saw it a few times as a kid with my sister. As I also mentioned, I liked it more as an adult. Probably as a kid, I would have given it like a 6 subjective, given it a 7.5. I enjoy it. I'll certainly watch it again. It's just all around enjoyable. There's nothing really I dislike except the train, specifically the explosion. And I like Spirit. Usually, like stubborn characters, kind of hit or miss with me. Definitely hit with Spirit. Solid. Might be helpful that he doesn't talk. If he talked, that might have changed my opinion on him. But overall, really, really enjoyable. Objectively, we talked a fair amount about the animation, but I didn't really praise it that much. I think the 2D parts of this is really, really good. They did not go the lazy route with this. There was a lot of fluid camera movements in here when they could have done pretty stationary or just panning shots. Like the opening where it's just flying around, and it happens a lot during the chase scenes as well. The camera's going nuts, going everywhere, and that's just a pain in the neck for the animators to properly animate a running horse that's moving, but the camera also moving in a different direction. And I think they did an amazing job with that. I did bring up the shadows, but I think that fits the time frame that they're at, 2002. With 3D, as we mentioned, is a bit aged, but not terribly. The train part at the end, I kind of brought up. It kind of comes out of nowhere. They do bring up the train tracks in the beginning when Little Creek was found, and like the hostiles are up north. The railroad wants assistance, something along those lines. So it is established. It just doesn't feel like that's what the movie was building towards. Because if you asked me at the start of this what the climax would be, I would not say a train explosion catching a forest on fire. I guess it's one of the two climaxes. The other one being the Colonel's respect, which I really like. I think that's really good, well done, well built. I brought up the continuity of the height. All that being said, I will say a 7.5 objective. Does anyone have anything else to say before we close out?
Just to double check, Broadway, your score was 9, correct?
Yeah, I gotta put that at a 9.
Okay.
Thank you, Broadway, for joining.
Yes,
It was a
Yeah,
pleasure. You did
thank
very
you.
well. That was good.
Nice to hang out with y'all. I know, it's been a long time, so
No time passed at all.
Mm,
I guess I'll close this out. So no one's
do your
bringing up anything else.
do your stuff, my man.
Yeah, take a writer's
Well,
job.
audience, yes, I'm snagging it. I just love taking his job. I'm so good at it. No sarcasm in that whatsoever. Well, audience, thank you for listening, whether it be on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Pocket Cast, Anchor, Overcast, and Samsung. Feel free to comment, leave a like, subscribe, whether you liked our opinions or hated our opinions, what have you, any of that stuff. As always, I've been Crimson Rune.
I've been a character called Sinister Boy.
I'm Sprinks, and
I am Broadway.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. Later, everyone.
toodaloo.
Goodbye.